Hi, I'm Linda Basso, and today we have a very interesting marketing question from one of the members of my membership site. Okay, so here it is. She says, if my deepest passion and primary purpose is in the spiritual realm, and I do not share anything in my marketing about that, isn't that a lack of authenticity? If I do share, what language is best to attract those with an inner knowing, yet not much outer expression? Woo! The answer is that depends. Okay, so if your primary business offering is spiritual, then yes, you need to language this. Like, for instance, if you're running a coaching group for Christian women to find more meaning in their lives, or helping those in some sort of recovery to do so by using a religious-based approach, like a Catholic approach to addiction recovery, or you're using a Jewish approach to something, right? Or in a more spiritual and not religious sense, maybe you have a nature-based cooking class that's based on pagan seasonal holidays, or you teach a Zen meditation method. Okay, so these are all offerings that are based on a bigger spiritual conversation. So yes, you have to mention it, probably in the name or in the tagline, and definitely in the copy about your marketing materials. You can't not mention that and then suddenly bust out the God word or start quoting scripture or sharing Buddhist tenets, once someone is your client, and then expect them to feel that you are authentic in your marketing. But let's say that you are not teaching something that is directly connected, like those examples I just gave, if you're not directly connected to a religious or spiritual tradition. So let's say your product or service is about something else, like, I don't know, parenting or business or health. But say you do use a spiritual or religious tool to help your clients get to their desired results. Is it inauthentic to not mention this? No. And here's why. Okay, as coaches, therapists, healers, teachers, etc., we all have a big toolbox, and we're carrying it around, and it's chock full of tools. And these tools generally range from self-growth tools to mindset shift tools to faith and belief in something bigger kind of tools. People don't generally care what kind of tools you use as long as you get them where they wanted to go and where you said that you would take them. So if you want to mention the tool casually at some point so they aren't like uber shocked when it comes up, that's totally fine. So I do that with human design. Human design is a typing system that I use in my coaching practice, and it could be considered a little woo-woo or quote spiritual. So I mention this when I'm doing an intake with someone. And it generally comes up now and again like this, in a casual way, like in a talk I'm giving or in an article that I'm writing. Now, I don't make it a main thing because I'm not a human design practitioner, and I don't go around giving lots of readings. It's just an assessment tool that I use to help my clients make good decisions in their marketing. So your spiritual tools may be a minor part of your messaging, like mine are, or like you could use them the way I do, or like in a bullet point description of what they're getting when they buy your package. But not in any of the main message. Okay, what is in your main message? I'm glad you asked. It is always a combination of what you do to solve your ideal client's problem or to meet their dream. So your messaging is always about the other person and what they get from your work. It's not so much about the actuality of what you do, okay? So the main answer then is whether what you are teaching is spiritual or religiously based or not. If yes, then yes, put it in your messages in a prominent way. If it's no, then I don't teach something that's religiously or spiritually based, but I use spiritual tools in my business, then it's up to you about how much to include about it. But you're not being inauthentic to not have it in your main messaging. Now, if you don't use any spiritual or religious type tools in your business, but you are a spiritual or religious person and you want your beliefs to be known, put it in the About section on your website, or casually mention it in Facebook Lives or in talks or when you're leading classes. For example, my publisher is Christian, and he used to be a pastor. So he mentions this now and then when it's needed as a way to make the point that he's making. And I've been to other coaches' things where they've credited, say their faith with their success, or they've talked about praying, or they've talked about using crystals or, different spiritual things. But they talk about this for themselves personally and how it's helped them, not as part of their method, okay? So they don't lead with it in their marketing messages, but they bring it with them when they teach and lead. And I want to say that, of course, you always have the option to fully make your messaging as spiritual or religious based as you'd like. If that makes you more comfortable, for example, or if you prefer to only work with people who have the same beliefs, or you really feel strongly that people have to know fully where you're coming from. It's just that this can often narrow down the playing field too much, and often it really is a secondary message, not the primary message. But it doesn't make you more authentic because you've shared this. It makes you more transparent in the front end of the relationship. Okay, I personally choose to be transparent a little more slowly. Like I wouldn't see a stranger in a coffee shop, catch their eye, and rush over to tell them all my beliefs before we've even introduced ourselves. Okay, so know what I'm saying? All right, now to get to that last bit of your question, which is if I do share, what language is best to attract those with an inner knowing, yet not so much outer expression? Great question. If you're saying that your ideal client kind of gets spiritual concepts but doesn't talk about them so much, then your messaging really should do the same. Talk about concepts in an easy to understand terms that those ideal clients would use themselves. All right. So parents and grandparents of many types would get it if you told them, hey, children today are more energetically sensitive than generations before. And ones that don't get that are definitely not fit for any kind of work that even borders on woo-woo. So don't worry that they don't get it, okay? But if you say that today's kids are locked into the energetic crystalline grid of the earth and have come here to restore harmonic resonance, then really seriously, I think you're going to alienate most parents and grandparents, except possibly some hardcore spiritually minded ones, okay? So if the hardcore spiritual types are your ideal audience, carry on. But if you're trying to reach the more moderate types, look for language that creates a bridge to your concepts. Here's an example. Like, I believe that kids are more sensitive than other generations. I think it's because we are continuing to evolve as conscious human beings, and the kids being born today are here to help us in that transition. Signs that I see they are more sensitive include blah, 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 blah. Okay, so see how I'm using plain language, but I'm definitely hinting at some spiritual concepts. All right, I hope this answers your question. And as always, chime in anytime for more clarity or to dive more deeply. Linda Basso, signing off.